Have you heard anybody mention egg prices? Me neither. We're going to talk about that, plus farmers were testifying on the Hill yesterday, and a lot more on today's episode of the Arkansas AgCast, which starts right now.
You're listening to the Arkansas AgCast, where we discuss the latest news, trends, and issues impacting Arkansas farmers and ranchers. Our show is brought to you by the Arkansas Farm Bureau Federation and hosted by Jason Brown and John Nickman.
Howdy, howdy. Hello, we are back in studio. How are you, sirs?
I'm good. We have a familiar but unfamiliar, hadn't seen in a while person today with us.
Please go on.
I was gonna say I don't think I'm that familiar anymore. It's been like 4
Everybody
months.
knows Mr. Magnafro, but he hadn't been here in a while.
Yeah, you got in and you got back there in the seat, proverbial seat, and you said, well, I haven't done this in a while.
Yeah, I was having to remember what all the buttons do.
Yeah.
So.
It's like riding a bike. That's what I'll tell you. Just you're gonna nail it.
You'll figure it out by the time it's over.
Yeah. Well, the more
Says
buttons
the
I
two
press,
people who have never been back there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know what I was doing at all.
Dude, we couldn't do this show.
What's this
We'd
button
be dead
do?
in the water. Yeah. It'd be like a horn hawk or something.
Yeah, I'd crash it.
Oh God. Anyway, welcome, Matthew. We're glad to have you today.
Yep. Here I am.
What's this, like our second in-studio show of the year so far?
Buddy, it feels like it. It feels
Third,
like
maybe?
it. Last week we were at the Arkansas Growing Conference in Hot Springs. And that episode's quite popular. You can see it on Facebook, YouTube, listen to it wherever you listen to podcasts, of course.
All the kids are watching it.
Yeah, it seems like it.
We're basically. I would have to go back and look for sure, but we're almost at your 2-year anniversary, John. Right?
We should be.
Of doing this show.
That was January.
Yeah.
January
So
16th
Yeah,
or something.
you're working on year 3, buddy.
yeah.
Year 3.
Time flies.
We're still not paying you, but
Still voluntary basis.
Well, you reminds
I
us.
still show up.
I think that goes for all of us. I just want to be fair.
Yeah.
I just
In
wanna
case
be
anybody
fair.
was listening.
Well, it's rainy. It's rainy and warm, which is odd.
It is not warm in here.
No, it's not warm in here. No
is
no
quite
doubt. You said it's
chilly.
the coldest it's been in a long time in here. And I know
Yeah.
our listeners and viewers are so happy to hear us talk about the temperature of this room again.
yeah. Talking about 2 years of you being here, it feels like we're back in year 1 for how cold it is.
Beat that old drum again.
Yeah, I think that first episode, I was like, man, it is incredibly uncomfortable.
Yeah, it is.
There's worse places to be in the world.
Part of that is, I think, though, the fact that, we haven't been in here in a while and maybe we forgot just how chilly it
That could be it.
Well, like I said, I think I said this. It's a statewide FNR conference this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Brian's doing today. That is being held in Fort Smith starting tomorrow, starting Friday afternoon. Brian's over there getting all the stuff set up, the technology and all the audiovisual stuff that it takes to run that show.
He's been busy, man.
Man, he has.
Have you ever been to the Marshall Museum up there?
No, but that might change
Yeah,
tomorrow.
I was going to say I have not, but Saturday evening I will be there.
Well, tell me what it's all about. I'd like to go see it.
Yeah, I think that's part of what they're doing. I don't have
Saturday
that full...
night dinner and museum is at the Marshalls.
Cool.
Let me just pull this little program up here and just kind of talk about that a little bit. So, they're going to start tomorrow with a tour of a cold storage facility there in Fort Smith that as I'm told, does packing for animal protein and produce. Mm-hmm.
Is it like a food hub? Like
No,
commercial?
it's a commercial facility called Compass Cold Storage.
Okay.
Apparently, they have pretty innovative technology in the refrigeration and freezer area. Then they're going to have a district meet and greet. Collegiate discussion meet will be kind of going on all weekend. There's a dinner event with food trucks and stuff, and that'll have a panel discussion from I believe some of our leadership here at Farm Bureau, and then the Ag Olympics, which I've never witnessed. Have you ever witnessed that?
I think I may have my first year.
Yeah.
Or maybe we've talked about it on here. I have a memory of it, but it's pretty fuzzy.
It's a good time.
Is
you
it?
know?
Yeah.
You see people flying all over the place doing all sorts of stuff.
We used to
Potato
do-
races and
Oh, that's fun.
taking tires off things. It's crazy.
We used to do something like that in college. It was, I forget what it was called, but one of the fraternities on campus, the ag fraternity on campus,
Mop bucket jousting?
hosted it was like throw an empty keg over as high as you could and tug of war and all kinds of stuff. So that's what I see when they talk about that.
Did you compete?
No,
No?
I was cheerleader. Don't worry about that.
Avid fan.
Yeah. And then Saturday morning, it kicks back off with the general session. The keynote speaker, Vance Crowe, certainly familiar to Arkansas Farm Bureau. Vance spoke at O&L my first year. I believe that was 2021, my first year here. Great speaker. He's coming down from St. Louis to talk. And then there'll be a number of workshops going on Saturday throughout the morning. Lunch, where the group will hear from Executive Vice President Jared Yates and Arkansas Farm Bureau President Dan Wright. And then the afternoon, we'll have more workshops going on. And then you were just asking about this. The buses leave for the U.S. Marshals Museum on Saturday evening. Take a tour of that and have dinner. So what a full weekend. It goes all the way through 9 o'clock Saturday night.
They have a menu for dinner on there?
No. You know what? They don't, that I've seen. Matthew might know, but I have not seen that.
It's gonna be good, probably.
I hope so.
I was going to say, you know it's going to be good. So anyway, that's where Brian is. I'm headed there tomorrow. Matthew's headed there Saturday. There's a lot of us will be in Fort Smith this weekend for the Wife and R conference. So shout out to those guys for putting together a great event. I know they're going to have a good time.
Yeah, I think Jared Garrett and Jake Cartwright are speaking in one of the workshops.
From your team?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Poultry and livestock, maybe an Outlook. I'm not real sure, but
Yeah.
I know they'll be speaking, so check that out.
Actually, you know what? Jake's speaking on direct-to-consumer beef sales. Is it right for your operation? Is the name of his title. And I think that's pretty cool.
He's put a lot of work into that over the last probably year or two.
He's done some calculations, some templates, and some
him and the
budget
U of A were
builders.
working together on a project with one of our local beef producers, and I think it's just kind of. I mean, I'm sure enterprise budgets will come out of it or something related to that, but it's kind of just studying the feasibility of it, and it should be able to take you as a grower or somebody looking to get into it, help you make that decision. Like, all right, is this something I want to transition to? Is this something I want to kind of diversify into, or is it not feasible?
Does it even make sense?
Yeah. Does it pencil?
And that doesn't have to be retail cuts like we've seen
Yeah.
a lot of places. Like that could just be quarter, half, whole sales.
Yep.
I mean, you can I think that's probably what you meant by tiptoe.
Yeah.
But just a little bit at a time till you get it figured out.
Now you could still do some, traditional operation that you're used to, and then maybe kind of dive into 4 or 5 head, 10 head, maybe here and there.
Yeah, that's right. Farmers market, put a store on your farm.
Yeah,
whatever that
I
may
think
be.
you need to be very cognizant of how far is a processor from you.
Yeah, that's right.
And what's their capacity and what's the time frame of getting that back. So if I had any advice, or if I was going to jump into it, being just a traditional rancher, I would probably just do a few at a time.
Yeah.
Does this work? Am I going to see something from this? But the information Jake and the U of A are working on will definitely aid and trying to help that make decision.
So they'll be having that conversation in one of those workshops tomorrow, and I think that's great. Also happening this weekend, as you guys may know, the big game.
Oh yeah,
y'all know we cannot say the real name of the big game, so we'll just call it the big game.
Who you rooting for? The red team or the
I
green
have
team?
a list of questions for you, and I'd appreciate it if you'd slow down a little bit.
It's his show. Sorry, I
Yeah,
forgot.
we're just here.
Oh, I can't remember. You know what? We talked about this last year. I can't remember. I think we do have to say red team or green team.
Do we?
I didn't even tell you guys that, but I think
Well,
if I
for the
recall,
record, I
let's
should
say
say I don't like this. So
you don't like this game.
no, I do like the
matchup.
game. I just don't like the way we're referring to it. But I understand. why.
Yeah. Well, we want to keep our noses clean.
I actually just don't care.
I know you don't, buddy. If there's something I know, All right, go ahead and ask
He's
your
not
question.
paying attention
Well,
because
I'll
he
get to
doesn't care.
whatever I've got whenever
No, you have
we
questions.
get done. No,
so
it's fun.
It's your questions. It's your segment.
All right, so
I'm happy to be a part of it.
You are a man who likes to keep up with odds, I'll say, from time to time.
Yeah.
I mean, you're
for
aware.
For better
You're
or
in the
worse.
know.
Yeah,
You're in the know.
It's
It's all I'm
interesting.
saying.
I like statistics and numbers.
You're a math guy.
Yeah, I just can't do them in my head.
Do you know who's favored?
I would say the red team.
The red team. I almost said it. The red team is favored. Does that
That,
surprise you?
that doesn't surprise me.
By 1 or 1.5. I think last saw was 1.5.
1.5.
Yeah.
And from what I read in 23 and 24, did they play the last two also? Is this their third consecutive?
Oh, this is like their 12th consecutive.
They've been in it at least, I would say, at least 3 times in the last 5 years.
I was gonna say, I
But
feel
they
like
missed a year.
Patrick Mahomes has been in the league for 6 years, and they've been.
They played the red and gold team from the West Coast, and they were 1.5 point underdogs then. They played this team, and they were 1.5 point underdogs then. This is the first time they've been favored, at least in the past couple of years.
Yeah.
So they are favored though, 1.5 points, as you mentioned. Who you got?
As a avid fan of the team in Dallas,
Yes,
a disappointed fan, I should say.
that's fair.
But most of my teams I'm disappointed in. But that's the way I was raised. I don't want to root for the green team.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I don't know.
I'm
I'm
the
a
red team win.
I'm an underdog fan, right? And,
same.
I think it's good for sports if there's a variety of winners. If you keep on seeing the same TV show, the same episode every week, you're gonna get burnt out on it.
Dynasties are not your thing.
No,
Okay.
I mean it's cool. Like there's
Unless
that
it was the
period in
Bulls.
history of this team, and right. But at the same time, it's like, man, I would like to see this team win it.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
I've already seen this team win it.
Yeah.
Now I say that to say, who do I think is going to win? It's hard for me to say that the green team will win or to say the red team won't win.
Yeah, yeah. I
You know,
understand that.
because I mean they've got talent, right? And it's hard to say that a quarterback like that on the red team is going to lose in this big of a
he
stage.
seems to always find it, doesn't he?
And this would be their third in a row.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't know if anybody in NFL history has done that.
I don't know. I read the other day. This is
three in
so
a row
random.
is-
Because New England, I don't
I
think
did
ever
not.
did it.
I did not know this, and I don't even know how I came across this. But did you know that Phil Jackson owns the trademark for the term 3P?
I saw that
I don't know where I saw that from, but
from the Lakers.
when the Lakers were going for their third consecutive.
Let's just talk
he framed
about
that up.
how that exemplifies everything that's wrong with America.
that you can own.
Capitalism.
Yeah, I can
That you
own
can own
3P,
that. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
you got to pay me royalties.
I own these words.
Matthew, do you have
and-
thoughts on it? On who will win?
I think the team that has won multiple times recently has a better chance because
Midwest-
they've
the
been
Midwest
there.
is going to take it.
They
Yeah.
know how it goes because the other team, it's been a little while, right, since they were
Yeah, I
5
think
years,
so.
something like that.
Something like that. That was when they had the quarterback pass,
Yeah,
a reverse pass. Nick Foles
Yeah.
caught that pass in the end zone.
All right, last question I've got for y'all. Well, I've got two more, but I'll just do one. What are you most looking forward to? The game, the commercials, or the halftime performance?
none of the above. I'm looking most forward to, if I was watching it or cared at all, but I'd be most looking forward to snacks.
Snacks.
Yeah.
I should have put snacks.
The halftime show is probably the bottom of that list.
The
if
list.
It's on the
Yeah,
list.
that's fair.
The commercials are always entertaining. I will say the commercials aren't as entertaining for me now as they used to be. Not that I'm degrading the commercials. I'm just not interested in.
Yeah, I feel like
I was.
there was a time where like that was the public zeitgeist afterwards of let's talk about the commercials, but I don't feel like that exists anymore like it used to.
One that
For
sticks.
years, Matthew, when I worked in the agency world, I had to write a synopsis of all the commercials
Oh wow,
to publish on Monday morning. You know,
I've seen those. Yeah.
and you know, I will say I'm very glad I don't have to do that anymore.
One that sticks out in my mind, I don't remember what company it was or who they were advertising for, but it was like instead of like, cattle herding or cowboying, they were herding cats on horses, and then just a herd of cats coming over the hill. I just thought that was hilarious.
Yeah.
Matthew doesn't
Herding
think it's
cats
funny,
is a term that's used often.
I can't remember who did that one
in my house,
but you got the classics like all the drinks and the chips and
all that good stuff. All right, well, we'll probably watch. I mean, we'll be watching, but not enthusiastic.
I just hope it's a good game. I hope the green team wins.
Yeah, sure.
I hope their running back and their quarterback really stand out.
My best friend's a huge green team fan.
I think it's going to be a high-scoring game.
If I'm rooting for anybody, it's probably them.
So,
I mean, neither team has.
If you're also interested in the numbers, I would say look for a high-scoring game.
The over-under is like 49, I think.
Yeah.
Something like that. It's over 40, I believe. So, could be higher scoring than that, I guess.
Could be.
But, all right. Well, y'all tell us if you're watching, what you're going to eat, what you're most looking forward to, whatever that may be. Chime in and let us know. We'd love to see it. Love to hear what you're thinking. One more thing before we get into the news here. We talked about this quite a bit last month, but UA Extension is still putting on their winter ag production meetings. We didn't put any times in here because inclement weather can affect that, and I think there is a chance of that next week for northern Arkansas. So make sure if you want to know the times and the locations and all that good stuff, you can go to UADA's website, or you can call your county extension office. But starting tomorrow, there's a meeting in Jackson for Jackson and Independence County, February 10th. Woodruff County meeting in the morning of the 11th. Ashley and Chico are having their meeting in that afternoon of the 11th. Lincoln, Drew, and Deshay. The 12th, Crittenden and Mississippi counties. The 13th is Prairie, Lone Oak, and Pulaski. And then the 14th, Valentine's Day, is Craighead and Poinsett County meeting. We didn't go out further than that. So you still got a chance to hop in on some of those. And if you go to the website, it'll tell you what commodities they're going to discuss and what the time is, where the meeting's being held, and all that good stuff. So
it wouldn't be a bad idea to go to one of those.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go to one. For sure.
The one in Lincoln, Drew, and Deshay, or maybe the Ashley Chico one.
Yeah, or
the Crittenden, Mississippi.
Yeah, any of them.
Yeah, really, any of them. Now I'm looking at this list.
Yeah, and like I said, you can see the full on topic.
And I'm just saying that for
things
the
like
commodities that I have to pay attention to.
Yeah, you're
not
right.
That one's worse than the other.
You're right. All right, well, you want to get into it here?
Let's do it. That's why we're here.
Yep.
So with planting season soon approaching, farmers across the country across the country need Congress to pass a farm bill more than ever. Mm-hmm. On Wednesday, the U.S. Senate Agriculture Committee heard from 11 different farmers on the dire need of a new farm bill and not another extension. Of course, 11 of those 11 farmers, 2 of them were from Arkansas, as well as American Farm Bureau President Zippy Duvall. The farmers who testified represented corn, soybean, wheat, cotton, rice, sorghum, and peanuts, and sugar beets and barley. Each one of them testified on the same point: per acre financial losses due to low commodity prices and high input prices, and the need of a stronger safety net that includes higher reference prices and improvements to the crop insurance programs. Each one of them also commented on how farmers are struggling to obtain operating loans for the 2025 planting season and how some producers likely won't qualify for loans this year. Zippy Duvall, president of the American Farm Bureau Federation, commented on the potential of a tariff war and how it would likely require more direct aid for farmers in the future. He called for negotiating new trade deals to open markets. He was quoted saying, "Our farmers want to have open markets. We don't want payments." And as I mentioned, 2 farmers were from Arkansas. They expressed concerns about several issues impacting agriculture, including the PLC program, input costs, commodity prices, new and existing markets, difficulty in getting farm loans, reference prices, and much more. Comments from the 11 witnesses at the hearing reflected many of the concerns we've heard in conversations here at Arkansas Farm Bureau as well. Senator John Boozman, as you know, is ranking member, right? Mm-hmm. Or leads the Senate Ag Committee. He's presiding over his first hearing as chairman yesterday for the committee, and noted he had sat through countless hours of hearings in the past and was quoted saying this: I don't think I've ever heard more uniform testimony, and it's across the board. You just demonstrated how difficult it is in rural America right now doing what you do. So, and kind of ending here, it's been hard to say positive or stay positive given the current financial climate in agriculture, but yesterday's hearing makes me optimistic that Congress is moving the needle forward so that we see a farm bill passed sooner than later.
Yeah.
And I've been hearing a lot of that too, whatever meetings I've been in. I hope, that it's not September. I mean, I hope it's next month.
Right.
But, I think you watched the hearing, didn't you?
Yep.
And I think the biggest thing I've taken away from reading it and watching a little bit of it was what I've already heard a lot of is without assistance and given the pains we had last year, this last season, and what we're looking forward coming into this year, maybe the next year after that, people may not be farming, without that loan.
We have a video going out, Matthew. You can tell me if it's already out. I just haven't looked before this morning. We have a video going out really soon. Justin Roten on our team went up to Northeast Arkansas and talked to a farmer who's 10th generation, and he just scheduled his auction.
Yeah.
Like he's giving it up, heartbroken, but just can't go any. Can you imagine for 10 generations?
Yeah. Well, think
how
about
to
it.
walk
You've
away
been,
from this.
Yeah, that if you're a farmer of the last 30, 40 years, and all of a sudden you've been a successful farmer. And then some of these people said in this hearing is like, we've had outstanding yields the last few years, but it hadn't helped at all because the prices on those commodities have been too low, and their input prices are too high. And how can you justify not being able to farm after you've been so successful over your entire career?
Yeah.
And generations before you have had that same success and hardships that you've dealt with, but you're looking at something a hurdle you can't get over.
The numbers have gotten so astronomical compared to what they used to be. Having a year that doesn't come in your favor on the books hurts a lot more, and it hurts even more when you're like, we had near record yields. We've done as good as we've ever done on producing food fiber and the rest of it, and the numbers just don't work out, and you have to question why that is and why our country is allowing that to happen.
Yeah. And there was two other things I got out of this it's the domino effect.
Yeah.
Right. And let's take, I don't know, any one of these row crops, cotton, peanuts, or whatever. You start cutting back on what your production is. That's also going to impact the processor and how much capacity they're not filling to process that grain or whatever that commodity is. And I would compare it to like cotton several years ago when all the gins closed here in the state. And we went down from I couldn't tell you the number of gins that were in the state, but we don't have even half of that anymore. Right. Cotton's come back. And then another point somebody made, I think they were growing barley maybe. They're concerned about the lack of rotational crops. Because barley's not paying out. Yeah. But they still need to have that crop rotation to get the yields out of barley or whatever their other rotating crop
to control, you think about corn and soybeans or root knot nematode and whatever. I mean, sometimes you plant a crop because you need to control what's happening in the soil.
And they don't know what they're going to plant instead of barley.
Yeah.
So I didn't think about that part.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the indirect effects of what we're dealing with right now.
Yeah. It's tough. But good to see forward motion. Good to see an Arkansan at the helm, especially the Senate Ag Committee, and things like that. So hopefully, like you said, some forward motion soon. Well, you know what? Egg prices have gotten a lot of headlines for the last couple of weeks. AgriPulse has a nice update on that this week. So I wanted to take a look at Noah Wick's reporting here. Briefly, egg prices are continuing to climb as highly pathogenic avian influenza spreads across the U.S. layer flocks, and cases are also increasing on broiler chicken operations. In the last 30 days alone, HPAI has been confirmed in 121 U.S. flocks, impacting more than 22 million birds.
Wow.
According to USDA's recent egg market overview, prices for large white shell eggs was $6.70 per dozen last week.
Ooh.
Now, prices do vary regionally. In the Midwest, the wholesale price of large white shell eggs delivered to warehouses was $7.03 per dozen last week, while in California, the benchmark for large shell eggs was $8.97 per dozen.
I should say the benchmark for high prices.
According to the real report, yeah. I priced eggs here in the Central Arkansas market for the story, and I found a dozen store brand large white grade A eggs to be $4.19. So we see this in the Thanksgiving cost survey every year, but sort of insulated from the higher prices.
Yeah.
Obviously that's still high.
Yeah.
And maybe 50% or more. I'm just trying to think of my grocery buying over the past 6 months. But but anyway, not as bad as some places. The average price across the U.S. in December was $4.14.
Wow.
So we're a nickel above that here in the state, or at least at the store that I looked at. HPAI is also wreaking havoc on broiler operations, with 85 commercial flocks impacted in January alone, bringing the number of impacted birds last month to more than 2 million there. Flocks in several states, including Arkansas, have been impacted. That said, chicken prices have actually remained steadier than egg prices, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So we'll just have to see how that goes. I think generally as the weather warms up, this kind of starts to simmer down. That being said, I'm not making any predictions about the prices. I'm just the disease.
Yeah.
Because those prices, you've got to get new birds in. You've got to, you got to basically backfill what you lost as a result, and it takes time to generate that inventory.
Yeah, this would be a question for Jared Garrett, but I don't keep up with poultry all that much, but my knowledge of poultry has increased tremendously by being at Farm Bureau. Given that I'm from a row crop area.
Yeah.
But has this always been kind of a roller coaster issue throughout the production of poultry and eggs, or is this just something we're dealing with in this increased amount of occurrences in the last year or two?
Yeah.
Is this abnormal, or is this just kind of something that the poultry industry works around?
It feels like it's been ever present over the last couple of years.
To me, it feels like this is a new challenge.
Yeah.
It's something that's always been there, but not as prevalent as it is in the last year or two.
I know I talked to Jared Garrett while we were at American Farm Bureau Convention because, more reports of the AI was showing up in Arkansas as well as elsewhere. And he said something to the effect that it has been ever present. The problem is that, where in the past we've always kind of looked towards warm weather as a cleanser
like I just
of
sort
this,
of mentioned.
that maybe isn't as accurate as it once was.
Oh, that's interesting.
We used to be able to say, all right, by summer we're going to be good. But now it's starting to be like, well, we're probably good. And that's just, on top of the increased input prices, that just causes all the strain that the poultry industry feels.
Well, I do know I made a note because I have seen everywhere online this week that this Waffle House deal has gone viral. I don't know if y'all seen it, but they've added a 50-cent surcharge per egg on their eggs and pointed to avian influenza as the reason. So,
50 cents doesn't seem like a lot, but for one egg.
Yeah, I mean
you're not going to eat.
I think the All-Star breakfast comes with 3, so that's $1.50 on top of my All-Star breakfast I get.
Yeah. So anyway, all right. Well, let's take a quick break from the news to hear about Farm Bureau health plans of Arkansas.
Are you tired of one-size-fits-all health coverage? Welcome to Farm Bureau Health Plans of Arkansas, where you're in control. As a benefit of Arkansas Farm Bureau membership, you could save up to 40% compared to traditional coverage. Plus, you get comprehensive benefits, can enroll anytime, and access to Arkansas Blue Cross and Blue Shield's comprehensive network. Arkansas, we've got you covered. To join Arkansas Farm Bureau or find your plan, contact your county agent or visit arfbhealthplans.com.
All right, well, for my last story, I would say the last story, but it's not because Jason has one next. we got to start with Jason. We got to end with Jason.
No, I put you back in first like you requested.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I did notice that. Anyways, well, I talked about the U.S. Senate Ag Committee hearings.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of some dire news. Well, I wouldn't say dire, but not a whole lot of positivity coming out of it, except for optimism that the Farm Bill is going to come back out or be passed. Right. I actually have some good news here, which probably all of y'all have already heard about.
Mm-hmm.
But farmers in Arkansas will receive $286.2 million in assistance from the American Relief Act, with Mississippi County being the top recipient, according to the Rural and Farm Finance Policy Analysis Center.
Nice.
As some background here, the American Relief Act was the continuing resolution passed back in December to keep the federal government open through March 14th. But within that was an extension of the 2018 Farm Bill through September 2025. In total, it provides $10 billion in economic assistance to the crop farmers growing barley, corn, oats, peanuts, rice, sorghum, soybeans, and wheat. Mm-hmm. In Arkansas, 6 million acres were determined to be eligible for economic assistance. Around 51% of the state's soybean acres were eligible, while rice was at 26%, cotton 11%, and corn 10% were the primary ag acres covered. The remaining acreage was in oats, peanuts, grain, sorghum, and winter wheat. The economic loss from each crop is determined as the difference between the 2024 expected cost of production per acre published by the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Economic Research Service and the 2024 expected gross return per acre. Our good friend and extension economist at the University of Arkansas System Division of Agriculture, Dr. Hunter Byram, said the top 5 crops receiving assistance in Arkansas are rice, soybeans, cotton, corn, and peanuts. The dollar total for rice was $106.6 million, $89.8 million for soybeans, $56.3 million for cotton, $25.8 million for corn, $3.32 million for peanuts, so a little bit smaller, and then also for winter wheat, $3.29 million. And there's 2 more here: $650,200 for sorghum and $394,900 for oats.
Okay.
This was according to the same analysis.
Yep.
Dr. Byron said, and I quote, "The top 5 counties receiving assistance are Mississippi, Craighead, Poinsett, Phillips, and Clay counties here in Arkansas. Mississippi County had more than 463,850 acres that are eligible for the assistance, according to the report. Crittenden County, which was the second, at a little over 323,500. Craighead, again here, almost at 300,000 acres.
Right.
Jackson County at 268, almost 267,000 acres. And Clay County rounding in here at 258,500 acres. And counties had the other highest eligible acres in northeast Arkansas, as the analysis found. Mississippi County received 8% of the aid, or about $23.1 million. Craighead and neighboring Poinsett County each received 6%, while Phillips and Clay counties each received 5%. Dr. Byram noted that these payments are not directly a function of weather and are based on current plantings relative to historical price and production data. So I threw a lot of numbers at you.
Yeah, you did.
And I tried my best not to read them number by number by number. But,
Yeah.
Stumbled through that. So like I said, we had the Senate Ag Committee hearings, and people, thanked them for passing that act and getting some assistance. This helps. I kind of think it's more of a Band-Aid, right, or a lifeline than it is a foundation to work from.
This is in addition. Would this be in addition to the funds that were passed as part of the second Farm Bill extension? Or is
no,
this
is
it. This is that. Okay, that's what I was trying to sort through. All right, well, we've talked about some of this good news, some of the not so good news. And I thought it'd be good for us this week to talk about, it's been a while since we've reported on the Ag Economy Barometer from Purdue University, and so I thought we'd take a look at that. U.S. farmers began 2025 with, believe it or not, an optimistic outlook, as the January Purdue University CME Group Ag Economy Barometer rose 5 points from the previous month to a reading of 141. The improvement in sentiment was linked to higher crop prices, specifically in corn and soybeans, between December and mid-January, and fewer producers citing crop and livestock prices as a top concern. So what does that tell us, John? Well, farmers, truly the forever optimists, are trying to see the good in the situation they're in. It's not all great, though. Let's look at lending, for instance, something you talked about in your first story. The January barometer, which has annually included questions about farmers' operating loans for the upcoming year since 2020, revealed a slight increase in the percentage of producers anticipating larger loans this year, 18%, up from 15% in 2024. Among those expecting an increase, 23% attributed it to carrying over unpaid operating debt from the previous year, compared to 17% last year and just 5% 2 years ago. So 6% increase in people who are going to carry over operating costs from the previous year.
Yeah.
The shift reflects a decline in farm income, particularly crop income, over the past 2 years, and could be an early signal of rising financial stress among producers, something we've been talking about. Agricultural trade remains a top concern for U.S. farmers, also something that came up in that hearing yesterday. In January, 42% of farmers identified trade policy as the most important policy for their farm over the next 5 years. That is more than double the 17% who selected crop insurance program.
Yeah.
All right. So it's worth noting that interest in leasing farmland for solar production continues to grow. Something else we talked about. In January's survey, 11% of farmers reported discussing solar leases for their land within the last 6 months. Lease rates offered by solar energy companies in 2024 and 2025 were notably higher than in previous years, with 40% of respondents reporting offers of $1,250 per acre or more, and 26% receiving offers of $1,500 per acre or more.
Wow.
So farming's not making sense financially. I've got another option here. And what happens? That land starts to come out of production, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's a sign of desperation in some ways. A sign of trying to keep your operation going. You know, we don't know that. We can just speculate.
As you were reading that, though, I started thinking, like, as a farmer, you're trying to think of, how do I stay in business? And if you're, and like you were saying, extending previous year's debt, an extension of the line of credit, how many years can you do that in a row? And like, at some point, you're looking at this year, like, I'm not going to be able to, just this hypothetical, but I'm not going to be able to pay that loan off again next year.
Yeah, you're upside down. Kind of like being upside down.
Double of what you were last year, potentially. Again, hypothetical, we're pretending here. What do you where do you eventually make the decision of, I'm going to stick with it no matter how much of this I have to sell off?
Yeah.
Or like we were saying, Matthew brought up earlier, is like, nope, I'm getting out, I'm selling my equipment.
Yeah.
Because if you take that route, you sell your equipment, you can still lease the ground out that you do own, however much that may be. You could be renting all of it. Now, that's tough.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that out there, and you got to do what you got to do. But if you're lucky enough to own your own land, there's two options. You start selling pieces of it away to stay in operation, or you sell off your equipment and you rent it out. Neither one of those are good.
No. Hard to come back from.
Yeah. And then, but, and the solar thing is, where does your heart lie? Are you a farmer?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you're right.
But or am I here to make money?
Yep.
So those are tough questions.
Or feed my family.
Yeah.
Or,
those are questions you and I are very fortunate enough not to have
to ask or answer, right?
Yep.
All right, buddy, that rounds us out for the day on the news.
Well, I forgot to unmute myself.
That's okay.
Let's talk about something a little more fun. Not much fun to talk about in the agriculture world right now, but one place that's always fun to talk about is food.
Yes, sir.
To eat.
Yeah, and everything you eat, it comes from a farm. So I had the opportunity this last weekend. I know I talked to Jason about it. Was in Bentonville for a baby's baptism, and that was fun. But we got to eat at Tuscan Trotter afterwards for their brunch, and let me tell you, top-notch stuff.
I haven't had their brunch.
More importantly, the fact that they are I think 100% farm to table. They work with local farms. They've got 20 plus farms, written up on their wall that they're getting stuff from.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was good. I had a carrot cake waffles. and some bacon that I think came from Harrison from a little pork farm, and yeah, it was good. And there was people eating buffalo burgers, all sorts of things there that just really top notch.
I bet that pork came from is it Bainsley's, Berkshire?
Yep. That's exactly what
I'd be willing to bet that some of their farms, they're probably getting Spring Creek Food Hub up there to
maybe
go out and source some of it.
Yeah. Could be.
But like what Spring Creek will do, will put whatever you buy, they'll put the farm's name and label on there.
Yeah.
So you know where it's coming from as a restaurant owner. And then that gives you the opportunity to well, I really like that bacon, or I really like those tomatoes from that person. So you can continue to do that and buy that directly from them, even though they're not, I guess my point is they're not piling it all together.
Yeah.
Or blending
for sure.
it as you.
It's still all single source origin.
Yeah.
Single source. Oh, I got you.
But it was good, and I just always enjoy going into a restaurant, wherever it may be. I did the story on Preston Rose recently, and they're very similar of this is where our food, these are the farms that we're supporting,
Yeah.
When you pay for this meal, you can also consider the fact that you're supporting these farms.
Yeah. That one's in Clarksville, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
you still need to take me up there.
Well, I don't. If you were going to YF&R, we could stop on the way, but
yeah, I won't make it.
You're not coming.
Well, Matthew, I told you this the other. I was just looking at their website, really looking to see. I didn't know if they had any of the farms. They've got a couple of farms listed, but just on the menu. But looking to see, kind of, I've been up there a couple times, and you're exactly right. You walk in the door. There's a big chalkboard, or at least it used to be a big chalkboard. Yeah. And on that chalkboard, it'll tell you, hey, if you're getting lettuce on your burger today, it came from this farm. If you're getting a burger, it came from this. They mentioned 44 farms, I think, on the menu, but they surely source their beef from more than one place, perhaps.
They do.
But anyway, it's got all the farms listed, and it's just really, like you said, it's truly farm to table. Their food is great. There was a time where they were planning. They now have two locations, one in Bentonville, one in Rogers. I know, it's incredible, man. There was a time where they were putting a location down here in North.
Do they have a 50-cent surcharge?
Yeah,
I bet it's a little more than that.
Yeah. They were putting a location.
Pizza. You think that avocado's local?
Yeah, that's grown right up
all
the
right,
road.
they probably get a few things from out of Arkansas.
The Guatemala olives.
This restaurant's really good. I just
no, really, but they were putting a location in North Little Rock back right before COVID, and I think COVID struck that down. And I'm so disappointed by that.
It's dead in the water right now.
But Rob Nelson, a guy, he did some work for us. Promoting the soybean industry early on.
Yeah.
He opened that restaurant in 2011 early on, and I had him come down and cook food on some of the TV stations and some of them in Northwest Arkansas. He's a great guy. His heart's in it the right way, and it's if you're ever up there in Bentonville or Rogers, you should truly eat it.
Definitely worth it. And the thing about a lot of these farm to table places is okay, there maybe the price tag's a hair higher than you would expect, but you can feel good knowing that those dollars are, staying within the state for the most part.
Yeah.
And,
Well, not only that, what did Jessica tell us on the show last week? Take a piece of food, an item of food that's on your plate. On average, that item or ingredient travel 1,500 miles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apple.
And that's nuts.
Pear, potato, what, and the fact that you can say, hey, I'm going to sit down right here and I can literally map out where my food came from to get to this table. Yeah. That's great. And it keeps that money in the local economy and with the farmers and I'll say, so on and so forth.
To keep price from deterring you from eating local foods, economy of scales comes into play here, right?
Sure.
You had a larger operation can spread that expense across the board a lot better than a small tomato farm or a small pork production. Mm-hmm. So keep that in mind. It costs that producer more to produce that product than it does the bigger players in the commercial arena. So yeah, your money's going to a worthy cause to keep that person in operation, and they're not price gouging you up for the most part, right? There's probably some bad players out there, but that's what they need to make money and keep on playing.
Yeah.
Right, and keep farming.
Okay. Yep. Well, that's a good one. Good mention. Glad you brought that up. That's what I love about having you on the show. You always bring up some good food.
I mean, it's lunchtime for us. So.
I know. I'm starving. All right. Well, listen, that wraps up the news for this week. Thanks for following along to the Arkansas AgCast. We're grateful for you taking the time to watch and listen.
Yes, remember you can catch new episodes of the show every Thursday afternoon. Find video episodes on Facebook and YouTube. Listen to the audio version wherever you listen to podcasts.
And make sure to subscribe and leave us a review when you have a few extra minutes. The Arkansas AgCast is brought to you by the Arkansas Farm Bureau. I'm Jason Brown.
And I'm John McMinn.
And we'll see you next week.